Welcome back to Boys and Ghouls Film Review. I'm your host, Sarah Stephenson. This is my co-host, Mike Stephenson.
Hi guys.
And tonight we'll be reviewing, Buried Alive, that was released on television in 1990.
Now, wasn't there another remake called Buried Alive sometime later?
I'm not sure if it's a remake because...
Oh, no, not a remake, but another movie with the same name.
Per se, it was more of a... It was just using the same name just for a different story.
Now, so if anyone wants to see this movie,
there is
after we do the review, it is the 1990 version.
Yes. I mean, the one Mike's referring to is a different version altogether.
Yeah, I know. Okay, not a remake, reboot, whatever you're going to call it. It's the same name, but different year.
It's just they're using the same name just for a different movie.
Yeah.
After all, we're not... Over the years, a lot of movies have dabbled in buried alive type movies where a person gets buried alive, does not matter if they're living or dead, and then some weird stuff start occurring all around the characters.
Yeah. And some of the movies are lame too because they're not nowhere near as good as the first movie. Anyway, irrespective. Here we go. Okay, what you said, there's a telling movie. It's said it's a horror thriller. To me, it's more of a thriller with horror themes thrown into it.
I would agree with Mike. It's more of it has more thriller look to it.
Yeah, what's going to happen next? Yeah.
But seeing as it fits in with our category of what we're doing,
well, it's horror.
Well, it's horror.
Well, speaking of Buried Alive now, there was a movie done years ago. I'm not sure if Roger Corman did it or whoever. Ray Milland was in it. It was called Premature Burial.
I heard of that one.
And I think that was passed off as a horror movie, but it wasn't really a horror movie. It's more like a thriller, drama, that sort of thing, with a horror theme. The guy was scared of being buried alive, and he was. But he got out. I think, irrespective. Anyway, produced by Nikki Marvin. I don't know if Nikki's a male or female. It's Niki. So whoever, Nikki, there you go. Directed by Frank Darabont. Now, I'll talk about Frank later on. But I must admit, before I go on with anything else, I will say the film received mixed reviews and has been often overlooked in Darabont's directorial catalogue due to the success of his later films. So this is one of his earlier movies he directed, and I still think it's pretty good.
Yeah.
But he went on to do greater things, which I'll talk about later on. Now, I've got some notes here. It's got written by and screenplay by and story by, so I'm a little bit confused on who's doing what. Anyway, the screenplay was by Mark Caraducci, the story by David Davies, and written by Alfie Iowie, I think his name is.
Yeah, I think there's probably a bit of a glitch in Wikipedia.
Well, I don't know. There might have been a short story or something or other, and then someone's gone along and written a story based on that for the film. Don't know. Anyway, irrespective. And this was made back then, and the budget's about $2 million. And I think it was money well spent. Excuse me. Now, cast members. Tim Matheson. I'm breaking a new tongue here. Tim Matheson plays Clint Goodman, who is our nice guy who gets treated badly by his wife. Hey, don't we all? Jennifer Jason Lee. I wonder. Bruce Lee? Jason Lee? Brendan Lee? No, wrong spelling. Okay.
Janet Lee?
Janet Lee? Sarah Lee. No,
you're going too far there.
I'm hungry. Anyway, it plays Joanna Goodman, his wife. Not a very nice lady.
Yeah, if you see me now, I'm doing a finger in my mouth saying...
She wants to blow chunks, yeah. William Atherton plays a Dr. Cortland Van Owen. Court, his friends call him. I don't see this guy having too many friends, though. He's not a very nice man. And a guy called Hoyt Axton plays Sheriff Sam Eberly. And I believe Hoyt was a musician, singer or something in country music or something.
I'll take your word for it, Mike.
No, I was reading something. I didn't go into him too much, but I think he's well known in country music.
Yeah, another thing about Tim, he was also in what's it called? Drop Dead Fred. He plays a bit of a husband who was unfaithful to his wife in that one. So
Naughty.
in this case, it's a bit of interesting that he plays the character who gets jilted by his wife.
Yeah, but anyway, don't tell too much. You're going to tell the story momentarily, and I mean, Buried Alive. Hello, you know it's going to happen, don't you already? But
Hey.
we want to hide some of the secrets till
And
later.
this movie does make me think of Stephen King. I don't know
Actually,
why.
it does have a slightly Stephen Kingish feel to it. I
Yeah,
must admit,
a little bit of mystery, a little bit of thriller.
Yeah, 'cause
As I said before, in the past, Stephen King has done a lot of movies and books
well, the books,
that deal with
yeah.
different
Yeah,
themes.
and the thing is, I mean, his when Stephen King's books get made into a movie, they're not necessarily a horror movie. Like take Rose Red.
Okay.
They go to a haunted house. Okay, there's a little bit of supernatural stuff going on, but it's not really a horror story. But gee, it's scary and creepy and everything else. So, and there's a lot of movies sort of fit in that sort of genre. And you got a drama, thriller, mystery, bit of horror, supernatural thrown in. And when you get a mix of these crossover genres, it gets really exciting. Yeah, like comedies. They're comedy, but they might have some evil
Yeah,
stuff going
I'm amazed
on.
that even though this went directly to television, it's a shame it never went directly to the movies because this had a lot of excitement and
But
it
it
has
might not-
something gripping you.
It may not
there.
have been deemed to be strong enough to be an A movie.
I guess.
yeah.
Or maybe it didn't have the right to
Excuse
have
me.
any strong characters
Well, it had
in it.
they're good actors. I mean, Tim Matheson and Jennifer Lee, William Atherton. He's been in movies, and Hoyt Axton. He was well known in at least in the music industry. So had some strong people in there. But
True.
anyway, irrespective.
But then again, the director, he did a lot of TV related stuff, didn't he?
He did TV as well as movies. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
But we'll talk about that later. I got a whole list of his film involvements and TV involvement later on. Anyway, irrespective. Do you want to roll on with the story?
Yes, I will. So it begins with a certain builder who lives in a country town, and his name is Clint, and he lives with his beloved wife in this house he built for them to possibly share together and hopefully raise a family. Of course, none of that ever happens.
Had a nice house and a wife, not bad looking, and she
Yeah.
kept saying, "I can't have a baby.
Yeah.
I'll keep going to the doctor, blah blah." And he said, we've got problems.
Yes.
The problem is she didn't want to have a baby with him.
Yeah.
Nasty lady.
Yeah, as it turns out, behind the scenes, she did have a baby, but she wanted to
Aborted.
have it aborted. So,
And we're still having an affair with the doctor.
yes. So she meets the doctor. He gets rid of the baby, and they start a horrible affair behind her husband's back. And
Well, you wouldn't do it in front of his back, would you?
yeah. So let me see. Clint's only friends and allies in this movie are a sheriff who's a good friend of his, who are probably best mates forever.
I think they'd almost grown up together in this country town. Yeah.
And his dog Duke, who's always kept behind a cage, kennel.
Well, he was Clint's companion. He used to go with him everywhere, and until he. Well, we won't talk about it later. We have that's into the story.
Anyway, the doctor suggests to Joanna to poison her husband in order to get his life insurance and probably to sell the business, which would make, say, I don't know how much money, but it seems like a lot of money.
It's over $1 million.
Yes, over $1 million.
Back in those days.
Back then.
Back in 1990. So just
Yeah.
$1 million.
Yes.
I can spend that.
Yes. Anyway, I don't know how much the house would probably cost. It would have cost an extra
A couple hundred.
few mil too.
Oh no.
No, maybe not mil, $1,000 maybe.
No, it's probably 200,000 or 300,000, maybe 400,000.
Yeah.
But depending how big the property is and what the markets were in that area. We're not doing a realtor job here at the moment. We're not doing.
No. So she is given poison. This poison comes from a blowfish, I think you may have heard of.
I think it's a blowfish, or one of those little poisonous fish like stonefish or blowfish
Yeah.
or something. It's an oriental fish, I think.
Yeah, a special way of cutting it. If you don't cut it properly, you end up poisoning yourself.
Yeah, got a little poison sac in there, and then you can take the poison out. And actually, if you eat it, you'll die, and that's the idea of it.
Yes. So she takes it and she makes a plan of putting in his food or his drink. I don't know why no one noticed the taste when it's put in there.
But it might not have much of a taste.
Maybe. Maybe.
Well, you look in Psycho. He put strychnine or something or other into the iced tea, and they didn't notice there was any poison in it. And it certainly did its job.
Yeah.
Killed Mummy Dearest and boyfriend. And,
Yes. So anyway, so she puts in his meal into the wine, and at first she kind of slips up and doesn't put the whole lot in.
Yeah, see, you're supposed to put the full dose in. And half a dose only has half the effect. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
see,
all
only
done.
half of it will necessarily kill him. I don't know what, and probably if you don't put all of it in, there's a chance he may just slip into a coma.
Which he did, but he looked like he was dead, and he didn't. They couldn't. They didn't. The doctors didn't notice any breathing or heartbeat. Everything would just slow down so much. They thought he was dead.
Yes.
Surprise! Surprise!
Yeah,
surprise.
so he drank the wine, and the next minute he develops a cardiac arrest, whatever they call it.
He drops dead on the
and
floor.
he drops down the floor, and she calls the police, making out that her husband is dead, and she's in shock.
Boo-hoo.
And she wants to bury him right away, and doesn't have time to embalm him.
Well, no. She wants to do it on the cheap.
Yes.
So she tells the coroner, "Don't worry about doing an autopsy."
Yeah.
Or we know he had a heart attack. Because her boyfriend, the doctor, signed it off.
Yeah.
And then they had to go to the funeral home.
Yeah.
No embalming, and give us the cheapest coffin you got.
Yeah, and the coffin is like, you could break through it if you wanted
Yeah,
to.
the top had been water damaged, so they just put some wood filler in it.
Yeah.
And stand in the back and make it look new.
Yeah, and added a little bit of padding to make the fabric inside it look a little more
make it look nice again,
nicer, luckily. Anyway, so the funeral is on your way, and the dog is the only one who's aware of what's going on. He growls
didn't tell
and
anybody.
he sneers.
He didn't
He
tell
doesn't
anybody?
like Joanne very much. He starts growling. And when that night, Joanne and the doctor is having an evening sexapade.
Yeah, well, morning glory, evening glory, any time of day glory.
Yeah, so they're doing it, and the dog is barking angrily, and Joanna was going to attempt to shoot the poor dog, because she hates it.
But that wouldn't have gone down well with the neighbours.
But luckily enough, the dog escapes his pen, and he heads to the graveyard.
Where Daddy was.
Yeah, and while this is happening, it's thunder, lightning, rain, gives it a good atmosphere.
And the
Creepy.
water dribbles down through the mud, and it starts to dribble through the coffin and wakes him up.
Yeah, he wakes. He
What do you mean?
soon pounds his way through the coffin
Yeah,
lid and starts digging his way up
Yeah,
through.
the wood was really so water damaged from before. It was almost like balsa wood. So yeah, easy to get out.
He eventually does pull himself up and out of the grave, and he then follows his dog back to his home, and where he watches Joanne and the doctor doing the dirty deed. I
won't use anything like riding the bologna.
He notices
or anything
in the
like that.
kitchen, and he then heads into the basement to sleep off
We'll get over the drug.
that took over his
And
system.
also, he'd been very busy digging his way out of the tomb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next morning, Joanna is preparing getting the money organized from her husband's bank account
No, he has to go.
his life insurance.
So he has to sign paperwork
Yeah.
for the life insurance, and someone had been interested in buying his business, so she went and visited the guy.
Yeah.
And sold it to him that day. Said, "I want cash."
Yeah. And meanwhile, Sam comes around there, and he wants to know, is she really going to sell the business, and whether or not she's moving, all that stuff. And
Sam was a bit suspect, I think,
Yeah.
all the way along, even though he didn't say anything.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think that he knows Clint a little bit more better than she did. And knowing Clint, he would die if his business was being sold
he was
under
dead.
him.
He's in a coffin.
Yeah, well, Clint loved his business and all that stuff.
But she couldn't run it, could she? She wasn't a carpenter or a builder or a plumber or
Whatever.
a candlestick maker or
Yeah,
whatever.
so anyway,
Anyway.
eventually the doctor comes around and she's freaking out. And meanwhile, Clint is downstairs and he's about to load 2 bullets into the shotgun in order to shoot both those people. And then he gets wind from her and the doctor that these two met because that she had an abortion which terminating a child that they were about to have.
That he wanted. Clint wanted a little child.
Clint wanted to be a father and have a family.
And then he thought...
That's why he built the house for them to live in the town.
The house that Clint built. And at this point he said, no, shooting them's too easy.
Yeah, so he makes a plan, and he then, the next evening when she's asleep, he goes into the bathroom and cleans his wounds that are covered in stores.
And has a shower. He was muddy.
Yes, and it's very painful scene because he uses special acids to clear away the wounds.
No, he wasn't. It was peroxide.
Okay,
probably.
peroxide. Sorry.
He pours peroxide to sterilise the wounds, and I think he uses just ordinary sewing needle to sew up any little thingies, maybe, or whatever.
Yeah.
But he cleaned
It's
it.
very
Peroxide
painful.
hurts. Oh
Yes.
yeah.
Anyway, he then goes downstairs and starts getting his plan to order.
And what a plan!
Yeah, the next morning she meets the business developer guy who wanted Clint's business from day one.
Gets a bag of money.
Yes, he gives her the money and tells her, and she wanted it in cash. So again, this is one of those cash by the barrel type deals.
Here's a bag full of money and sign the paperwork. There you go. It's all yours.
Yes.
Not bad. 1.5. Yeah, 1.5 mil back in those days. That's probably worth about 1990. Could be close to probably 2.5 million now.
Yeah. She then takes the money upstairs, including the money that's from the insurance, and puts it into those big suitcase things.
Yeah, so you're getting ready to go on holidays with
Lover
doctor.
Boy. Yeah,
Lover boy.
They plan on taking the money and building a clinic in some Los Angeles, I think it was.
Somewhere like
Yeah, but that things don't go according to plan. She finds the in the bathroom. It's a mess, indicating that Clint is hiding.
Well, she thinks
somewhere.
someone's playing games with her.
Yeah, she then
thinks Clint's dead, but
Yeah.
maybe Sam, his friend, is doing some things to make it look like.
Yeah, she then phones the doctor guy to come by because she knows that there's someone in the house, but he doesn't get the call because he's making plans to start organizing his. He's going to poison Joanna once he gets the money. See, it's going to be a bit of a double betrayal here.
Yeah, he's sucking up and having an affair with her to get Clint's money, and the idea is that once the money's available, he kills her, and he walks off with all the money. What a good business plan!
And another thing is, before when he heads off, he gets an answering machine message from landlord telling him that
his rent's way past due.
Yeah, and that if he doesn't pay up any money, he's going to be looking at serious jail time or something.
Or something, or evicted, or whatever.
Or something. But by the sounds of it, it seems like a very serious deal, literally. Anyway, he doesn't get Joanna's call because he's already out the door, so to speak. So she then, meanwhile, Joanna is trying to find the person in the room, in the house. Eventually,
why didn't she go down the basement?
She then finds the dog and she's attempted to shoot it, but then a man in a welder's mask appears and she tries to shoot him, but he's wearing a metal vest. Reminds me of Ned Kelly when I think about it.
Or Clint Eastwood.
Yes.
Hey, Clinton.
Anyway, she shoots Clint in the chest and she tumbles down into the basement where Clint was hiding in the earlier on. And he closes the door, and she was already passed out. Just so
he locks her in there temporarily.
Yeah, and he goes outside and boards up the
windows.
The windows so that she won't get out through there.
Yeah, exactly right.
Meanwhile, the doctor arrives, and he's about to take the money and ditch Joanne.
Yeah, he had another syringe full of poison ready for her.
Yes.
Which is, well, a good way to terminate a relationship you don't want anymore.
Yes, anyway, Joanna thinks that it's him who locked her in there and all that stuff, and she tries to take her own revenge by having him knocked out for the count.
Well, didn't know it was him coming in the room, actually.
Yes, and as she's about to exit the basement, the man in the welder's mask appears and locks the door.
Bugger.
Yes.
Then she realised, whoops, it wasn't him.
Yes. True. Yeah.
Anyway.
While this is all happening, Sam is having has the has been making his investigation, finding out that Clint's grave has been tampered
Now,
with.
here's a tricky bit. He sees the grave had been tampered with, but he is smart enough, the sheriff, to figure that it wasn't dug up. Someone dug their way out because it wasn't dug up around to get down there.
It
looked like there was a crawl hole.
Yeah, exactly. If it was actually a person digging it out, you would see shovel marks around it.
And more dirt moved, but there's more like a burrow where he dug his body width out so it can get out of the ground.
Yeah.
So
Yes. And he organises with the coroner to remove the coffin and place in his near where he lives, so he can have a clearer idea of what to investigate and to keep it quiet from the town, obviously. But I doubt.
Well, you don't want little kind of town people sort of messing around with graves. A bit like Night of the Living Dead, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
You wouldn't really want that.
Yeah.
George Romero, sorry. Yeah.
Yes. Anyway, meanwhile, back to Joanna and the doctor. They realize that upstairs in the house, someone is moving the furniture around and
Doing stuff
upstairs.
You're running his business.
Joanna then discovers that the other syringe, and she asks, "Do you love me? Because I noticed you have the syringe that you just happen to have it on you at the first place." And she has a feeling that he was going to he was not going to make he's not going to make a clinic. He's going to ditch the money
I think he admitted that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he plans to go off to Hawaii.
Yeah, by himself. And anyway, they had a bit of a disagreement, didn't they?
They have a bit of a rough tumble, and then the next minute we see the door creak open.
Their common enemy.
Yes.
They think it's Sam.
Yeah. The doctor says it must be Sam because he wants a piece of the pie. Yummy, yummy, yummy. But as we said before, Sam is not that type of character.
Sam was a nice guy, and he was Clint's friend, or maybe possibly even his best friend.
Yeah, his only friend.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So there's no way in heck that Sam, in his character, would want money or cash.
He wants his friend back. Mm-hmm. I know how he feels.
Yes. So anyway, so our characters go upstairs and they realize the whole place is boarded up.
And it's been remodeled.
Yes, there are like lots of ordinary walls, and it's built like a maze.
It's made a maze using plywood. Yeah, plywood corridors so he could make them go where he wanted them to go.
Yeah, this scene makes me think of Blind Alley in Tales of the Crypt a little bit.
I can't remember.
I think I mentioned this in the past.
Oh, is that the one where the blind people were in the institute?
Yeah.
And they had that mean guy in charge?
Yeah, and
that was a good one.
And he ends up in a maze of his own, their own device.
A very skinny maze. Full of razor blades stuck on the inside of it, so he cut himself if he moved too quickly. And then they had a dog come in the other end, with his puppy dog, who'd been starving for several days.
Yeah, unlike that one.
Anyway,
this one doesn't deal with this sort of thing. So anyway, our story goes on that they go down the corridor and as they go, they continue arguing about. And he then tries to talk to to whoever's doing this.
The man in the eye mask.
that he'll share him, give him all the money if they will let him go, let them go and all that stuff. He then even says to the guy that it wasn't me that killed Clint. It was Joanna. She was the one who did it all. Yada yada yada. Pointing her finger, and in her hate.
But Clint reveals himself to be Clint at this point in time, doesn't he?
Yeah, before he does that, he kind of separates them using the piece of the wood, slit so they can be divided in the scene. Yeah, it's a little interesting, this scene. Anyway, so our doctor then faces Clint, and he continues to think it's Sam, but when he sees Clint's face,
Oops.
who says, keep the money or
And
just
then
keep it.
he turns around and
He
trips
turns
over
and trips over the suitcase and stabs himself in the chest
with the syringe.
And he screams very loudly.
I would.
Yes, and then anyway, the next, yeah,
No,
and then,
whatever. No.
yeah. Meanwhile, while this is happening, Sam is at home, and then he kind of finally put the final pieces to the puzzle in place,
Yeah.
and realized that Clint is alive.
My friend is alive and well,
Yeah, and then
and seeking revenge.
yeah, he then goes off to, into his truck to the house. Meanwhile, while this is happening, Joanna is still in the maze, and she tries to escape the Clint.
Yeah.
And then she soon ends up in a smaller
with the crawl
confined crawl space, and as she's crawling through, thinking that she's finally getting out, but then she gets
Ends up in
trapped.
a coffin.
Yes.
Or a box made like a coffin.
Yeah, and eventually he boards her up, and she tries yelling for help, and he then says, "Like a rat in a maze, remember?" And he adds, "What was it, Joanna? A boy or a girl?" He was referring to the unborn fetus that she killed, the poor little kid. Anyway, he says it doesn't matter. And he then shoves the dead doctor and the millions into the coffin.
I would have kept the money.
I know you would.
He might have to leave. He wouldn't have had anything to live on and stuff.
Yeah,
and
but then again, he lost his business, which was pretty much his life.
I know that.
And he lost his wife, which makes it even more worse. And what remains of his existence is gone.
Not a lot.
Not a lot. So anyway, he then puts the body in there and the money, and then he nails the makeshift coffin down into place.
And he's a very good carpenter. He's very, very good.
Yeah, he then loads the coffin onto a truck that's outside.
Well, his truck, he's ute. Yeah,
Yeah,
whatever.
and he then takes some gasoline and pours it right for the house.
Yes.
And burns the whole thing
Yeah.
down.
Nice
And then
house, too.
then Clint and the dog they get into the truck and
go
they
to the
head
cemetery.
off. Then meanwhile Sam arrives at the house and the whole place is already burnt to a crisp, which pretty much explain. Well, now that the maze, there's no explanation of what occurred through there.
Yeah,
like
wood
no
burns
evidence.
to ash. You wouldn't have seen anything.
You won't be able to know if there was a maze in that mansion, say a few minutes ago.
House, not a mansion.
Well, it looks like a mansion.
A big house there. But anyway, while he's doing this, Clint's gone to the cemetery. You don't see him doing this too much, but he's actually buried that new coffin he made in his grave. Because the dirt was still loose, and he bunged it in there.
Yeah, Sam arrives and he is looking at his friend's grave and remarking that my friend Clint died there. Do you know him? And Clint just answers no. And Clint, as he walks away, Sam yells after him. And
you realise it might be Sam or thinks it's Sam.
Yeah, and Clint turns and Sam looks at him and says, "I don't know who you are, but I don't want to see you coming back here."
Yeah.
And Clint realises that his friend is
saving him. Because if he comes back, you have to get prosecuted for murder and stuff.
Yeah, for a double murder.
Yeah, double murder. So, yeah.
Well, actually, when you look at it, the doctor, he didn't really die. I mean, didn't murder. He was
instrumental in the death of the doctor, but it killed his wife.
Technically, the doctor killed himself by stabbing himself with the syringe himself.
But who put him in the maze in the first place?
Good point.
Aha. All right.
So anyway, Sam walks away, and Clint goes back to his truck, and he drives away with his dog. And meanwhile, we get a final zoom in on the grave, and we see Joanna screaming her lungs out underneath all that dirt and stuff. And the credits roll.
Now, before I talk about anything else, there was a sequel done several years later.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how many years later it was supposed to be.
7 years.
No, I'm not talking about the production dates. I mean, in movie time.
I think it was 7 years later.
It was 7 years later. His dog hadn't aged, and if Clint took his dog with him somewhere, how did that girl get the dog?
Good point.
Anyway, irrespective.
Maybe it is a bit confusing that because in that sequel it indicates that Sam still had the dog.
Well, she was getting. She must have been his niece, was it, or something?
Yeah.
Or, and it was his will. So it couldn't have been that far after it. But he went off with his dog, and all of a sudden they're reading his will in the second movie. And there's nothing else. There wasn't any fire insurance on the house or whatever, or the money he made from that had to go back and pay the loan, and there's nothing there. But he had some old shares he had, which had amounted to a couple $100,000. And so they got that, but they also got the dog. But Clint had the dog. That part got me confused.
Me too.
Anyway,
Unless Clint gave him back the dog,
well, he went off into the sunset with his puppy dog.
I know, but he may have given it to him.
To who? He's dead. He's not supposed to be alive.
I meant Sam. I mean, he probably gave it to him to avoid being seen on the noticed.
He took his puppy with him and drove away to don't come back.
Yeah.
Aha. So they made a mistake on the second movie.
Maybe.
Anyway.
Right.
There's not much to talk about in the production notes or anything, so I can't go into too much.
Although
there.
I will mention this, guys, I found out. According to John Carpenter on an audio commentary for John Carpenter's Vampires that was done in 1998, that director Frank, what's his name?
Darabont or whatever.
Yeah, who are very close friends, and Frank had a cameo in that film, asked Carpenter to play a truck driver in this movie. Carpenter turned the offer down because he stated that he would only play a character that is about
to
kill someone or is bedding a beautiful girl.
So, hey, why not? I like the second bit.
Yeah, but the only person who is bedding someone in this movie is the
doctor, and he died.
Was a doctor, and he died. And
anyway,
the only one that is going to die or someone getting killed is those three people.
Now, okay, can't talk much about production notes. I don't know where it was made or anything, or anything instrumental that way.
I can't really tell you very much either, except for the fact that they did a sequel, and the actor who played Clint was the director for this one.
Oh, he was, Tim Matheson, yeah. Anyway, it was released as a telly movie.
Just like this one.
And soon thereafter, I won't say it went to DVD because they didn't have DVD back in those days. Went to VHS, whatever.
Yeah. Another thing about this one, about the sequel, is that I had a hard time finding it for a long time because people on YouTube haven't even bothered to putting a copy on there.
Sometimes you can't get a movie. You can't buy it in the shop. You can't get a torrent. And then you have to go on YouTube, and if you're lucky, you might get a terrible copy there. And it's hard to get sometimes.
Yeah, I couldn't even get it on Froggy either.
Froggy, you mean a torrent download?
Yeah, torrent.
But it's just hard to get sometimes. But we were lucky with this one.
Yeah, I was lucky. I mean,
we bought this one.
I know a lot of people kept telling me in other reviews, they keep saying that the sequel is not as good as the original.
Well, we're not talking about the sequel now. We're talking about this movie.
I know, I know, Mike. I just meant that in the sequel, it was
it was a role reversal.
Yeah, a role reversal one.
They tried to kill off a female, the wife, instead of the husband. And the husband, the naughty guy who tried to kill his wife, had a bimbo barmaid girlfriend and that sort of stuff, and who taught him into killing his wife. Whoopee, there you go.
Yeah, I often think that the barmaid was not very serious about their relationship. Anyway.
No, she just wanted the sex and money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And she wasn't bad looking.
Anyway, I might review that one next time. So I'm not going to go into details about that one yet.
Can I go back onto releases and stuff?
Yep.
Anyway, it ended up going to TV first, and obviously got released on VHS about a year later, I think. And it really dropped off the planet a bit.
That's what I mean.
And we couldn't find it, whatever. But Kino Lorber actually released this film on Blu-ray and DVD in America January this year.
Nice.
So someone's come along and said, hey, this isn't a bad movie. I mean, these guys don't just say, oh, we'll find a crappy old movie and bung it out there. No, they found a good movie which people might buy.
Yeah, exactly. And not all direct-to-television movies are not necessarily bad
No, they're
movies.
not. I mean, they're not the same as an A movie. But they're not necessarily as bad as a B movie either. They're just a different style of movie. In many cases, the telly movies are quite good.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
They, I mean, they just have as much credibility as mainstream
a lot of
movies.
them do. Now, I'm not going to go through all the critiques, reviews, and whatever. Mixed reviews. Some people liked it, some didn't like it. Some said, well, predictable storyline. Well, crikey. I mean, what are you going to get? Someone tried to kill you and bury you, and then you get out there, of course you're going to seek revenge. Yeah, it's just, but the thing is, the way he took revenge, doing the maze, whatever, and burying them both alive at the end, well, that was, I wouldn't say necessarily unique to this film, but that was rather inventive way to get rid of them.
It was sort of in the eyes of Clint's point of view, because unlike other movies where you see other movies with buried alive people, you know, you see them, the people get buried, and then the remaining people who are alive, they hear messages or get a message from the unknown indicating that someone is coming back to seek revenge and stuff,
Zombie.
or something like that. And
Whatever.
but this is the first time you see it from Clint's point of view, where you see it from his, instead of keeping it a secret, keeping
It's
story.
his POV instead of the people who try to get rid of him. Yeah, so it was interesting.
Yeah, it's sort of like that. I mean, this is the first time you see from Clint's point of view.
Yeah, and it's quite good actually. I like the storyline. I like it. Look, it's only so much you can do with a movie like this, and a story like that. Yeah, someone killed me. I'm going to kill them. Get revenge. Well, that's it really. But the way it was done was quite nicely done. The screenplay was believable. Went along quite well. The acting was good.
Yeah.
And despite this movie going under the radar, the director did a pretty good job.
Yeah, and I like the fact that Sam the sheriff, he kind of was a supportive character, and instead of report him to his friend to the police or arrest him,
he knew it was revenge killing, and so
he knew that Joanna and the doctor were up to no good.
so he just said, well, bugger it, go run away, and no one will ever know. Now, Sarah mentioned the sequel that was on. In 1997, that was called Buried Alive 2. Funny that, hey? And that starred Ali Sheedy and Stephen Caffrey. They did a good job in the acting, but the storyline was a little bit too samey.
Yeah,
but it was good. But we will review that later stage, and we won't tell you anything more.
But I will tell you guys, the twist ending is wonderful.
It's a different ending. They still get buried alive, but not the way you think. And it would have been
justice.
Good justice, yes. So we might do that just for the sake of the ending. So good. Anyway,
should we review it or should we
Wait a minute. I'm going to talk about the director.
Oh, sorry, got that.
Now I don't normally talk about directors, but one of the reviewers or some reviewers said, "Oh, it wasn't a very good movie." Yeah, blah, blah, blah. And they knocked the director and stuff. Wait a minute. This movie was made in 1990. Prior to this director, Frank Darabont, had been involved in these movies. As director, writer, producer, in different roles. The Woman in the Room, 1983, the director and writer, I believe. He wrote the script for A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors. There was a remake of The Blob. He did the writing for that in 1988. The Flight 2 was done in 1989. He was a writer for that. The Shawshank Redemption, and we know that's a fine movie.
And that's a Stephen King movie.
Stephen King. He was a director and writer on that. That was in 1994. Now, in between The Flight 2 and in 1994 when he did The Shawshank Redemption, he did the telly movie. Gee, we've been reviewing that tonight, haven't we? And it's called Buried Alive. That was in 1990. Then he did Tales from the Crypt, a couple of episodes. That was in 90 to 92. And then he did the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles. I mean, the guy was working like a Trojan doing all this stuff. And honestly, Buried Alive was probably maybe I wouldn't say his debut at doing a directorship,
But it
but
gave
one
him
of
good,
his early movies.
but it gave him good credibility
It
to
did.
work
He
on these
went
other
on
productions.
exactly right. He made better movies after this because he did his telly movie in 1990, and 3 years later, 4 years later, he was doing Shawshank Redemption, which is a damn fine movie. And
Yeah, take that, you stupid reviewers.
Yeah, and then he did Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, The Green Mile, The Majestic, The Salton Sea, The Collateral, and The Mist. He's been involved in quite a few movies.
And The Mist, I might remind
That
you,
was a
is
Stephen
another
King,
Stephen King movie.
Yeah, this guy doesn't. He's got a good hand, and so the only reason I'm going into him a bit because people bag movies, say, "Oh, bad director." Not a bad director. If it's an average script, a director can only do so much with it.
Yeah, and bear in mind,
And
it was
he-
I
yeah.
thought it was great, especially the
Yeah,
fire
yeah,
when
yeah.
he burnt down his house.
Yeah.
That is very good
Yeah,
symbolism there,
Yeah,
hinting that
yeah.
he wanted to destroy the past and try to move on.
You purge it and walk away. So yeah, when trolls,
And I like that
critics, and everybody else get into these guys.
And I like that
Yeah, I
scene
know
in
what
this movie where where Clint sees a photo on the wall of his of a wedding photo, and he looks at it and says, "Honey, if you don't like the house, I can always remodel." And then he takes a chainsaw and just kind of chainsaws in half. Very good symbolism, and I love the fact it was so out there.
Yeah, but anyway, so all having said all that, yeah, this guy
Whoever
is a good director. I mean, the good guy is a good director.
Yeah.
I mean, my mother used to gamble on horses. I'm digressing here.
Okay.
And she used to do pretty good. But she used to back the jockey, not the horse. If you had a good jockey on a pretty good horse, she knew that guy, the jockey, would bring that horse home in at least first, second, or third place. Okay?
Cool.
Now, you put a good director on an average to good film script, screenplay, if you will, he's going to make something good out of that screenplay.
Okay.
And I think he made a good go at this movie.
Yeah, so take that, you reviewers.
Yeah, no, sorry. So I can't say rude things on the internet.
Well, why would they say such nasty
Look,
things?
if they can't say anything good about somebody, they should just shut up. When they bag people for, I didn't like the movie was crappy. I don't think the director did a good job. Or I didn't like the acting. Blah blah. Yeah, well, fine. But remember that some guy commented on something you did. And did a review it and said, I don't like these sort of movies, so I'll give it a 1 or something or other. Yeah, but he just doesn't like that sort of movie, so he didn't even give it a halfway.
Yeah.
He just, I don't like this sort of movie, so he's bagged it.
Yeah.
No, that's wrong. You got to be what's the word? Fair.
Fair.
Step back and look. I don't like these sort of movies, but what sort of redeeming qualities does it have?
Yeah. At least
Yeah.
look at it through at least try to find something good about the movie to give
exactly
it
right.
that edge.
Yeah, if it's a crappy movie, look, I must admit, there are going to be some crappy movies come past the reviewers. If it's crappy and really, 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 really crappy, you don't say, it's a crap movie, here's one. No, you say, why was it crap? Okay, well, the acting was terrible, the script was right, and rah, 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 and go through all this, but you never attack the individuals.
Yeah.
You attack the product, you don't attack the individual.
Yeah, because most of these people, they can't help but they come from different acting angles, and you can't mistreat them because of this sort of thing.
Hey, here's another one. We've talked about this before, that there's a movie that Bob Hope did with, I can't remember the lady's name, The Ghost Breakers.
Yeah, I remember that.
And that was a really, really, really good movie. And about 10, 15 years later, maybe 20 years later, I can't remember now, the studio that...
Same studio,
Jerry Lewis and Dean Martin ran, they said, we're going to do a remake it called Scared Stiff, was it?
Yeah.
And Jerry Lewis and Dean Martin said, we don't want to do this movie. We can't do it as good as the original movie. And the producer said, you're under contract. You're going to make the movie whether you like it or not. And if you compare the two movies, the Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis movie, if you hadn't seen the first movie, you'd say, oh, it's not too bad. But if you saw the Bob Hope movie... Well, so no, some of these producers need to take step back and say, let's make good product, not say, oh, let's just dust this off and redo the script. No, you got to make something new.
Yeah.
And be credible and give respect to the original product. Yeah, okay.
True. But you got to admit, when
Yeah.
you look at Buried Alive, the sequel, Mike, when I know they said that there was another ho-hum sequel, yada yada, but it did have a few redeeming qualities there too, when you think about
Well,
it.
it was the same sort of storyline, but it gets back to the fact that as once upon a time there were three bears. It's a basic story. Okay? And the basic story with a good director can bring it home and make it an interesting product. Especially if you've got good actors to work with. And that's it. Yeah, I can't say anything. I mean, a script is a script is a script. It depends what they do with it.
True.
And some scripts get modified while the movie's going on. We can do this scene better. Let's change a little bit. And they tweak it.
Yeah, I think that
Yeah.
sometimes there would often there is some interesting qualities there.
Oh, look, they're both good movies. I mean, I can see they weren't made as an A-grade movie to go into theatre houses. But as a telly movie, not a problem. But you look at other telly movies, some telly movies that should be in a theatre. But maybe because of the content or what it's about, or there's I would believe there is a glass wall between television makers or producers and film producers, and they don't want the TV guys encroaching on territory.
I think that's the same thing with Netflix movies.
Possibly, yeah.
If I mean, you guys heard me a number of times complaining that the Academy Awards or the Oscars, they don't accept anything that's from Netflix.
Exactly right.
Too many
Yes.
times.
I mean, why not? It's still a film.
And bear
You
in
know.
mind, since last year, what happened? We gotta probably we probably have to
Reinvent the wheel.
Reinvent the wheel
Because
here.
some stuff.
Because everything that was going to probably appear in the cinemas were going to be appearing in
went
Netflix
Netflix
instead.
or direct to DVD because all the theatres were closed. So what are you going to do? You're going to ignore those guys? You're going to ignore the producers, directors, and actors because it didn't get on the silver screen?
Most of those directors who have put their work on Netflix are the mainstream directors we just talked about.
If George Lucas did it, would you say, "Oh no, he doesn't rate anymore"? Steven Spielberg did it? No. I mean, nobody did too much last year that way. So
Yes.
Come on.
So you may have.
It's a boys' club, isn't it? Really.
So they may have to reinvent the wheel, as we discussed. I mean, if they don't reinvent the wheel one day, we're going to be.
We'll be wheelless.
We'll probably be waiting for the next Academy Awards the following year.
And there won't be anybody there because all the movies will be going. I'll just change this a little bit. If they can make just as much money by putting it through those platforms, you can buy it like Amazon and whatever, and different things, and people watch it and rent down. Why send it to a theatre?
Good point.
Make good money, make good product. Hey, why bother? You get to the stage where the theatres start closing.
I remember when some cinemas did reopen at one point, there wasn't too many movies being shown.
Our one actually opened up and was showing reruns of old movies because there's no product available.
Exactly.
So what do you do? Don't knock the guys who go straight to DVD or the telly movies or whatever. They're still good productions. Producers, directors, actors, the crew, everyone's worked hard to make a good product. Don't insult them. That's my thoughts on it.
Yeah. So do you want to label?
I'm going to label. I'm going to give this not label. I'm going to give us a rating of. I haven't got any faults with it.
Me neither. Not
But
too many.
it's an average script which holds its own. So I'm going to give it about 9.
I'm going to give it 9.5 out of 10.
Yep.
It's because I
There you
do
go.
like the story, and I like the fact
I like the ending.
and I like the twists and stuff. And it didn't give too much away.
No, actually, people say it was predictable. Some parts were predictable. Some parts weren't predictable.
Like like Clint's plan of getting revenge on his wife and his and the doctor.
He could have just shot them.
He could have just
And
shot
walked away.
them and walked away,
Yeah,
or
but he
he could have
didn't.
set his dog on them.
Here, Rover, eat them. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
or
no,
something.
he didn't.
Instead, he did something that that clearly that kind of inspired him.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I'll teach you. Shooting or whatever is too good for you. I'm going to make you suffer, and you did.
Yeah, he did
Big time.
in the most interesting of
Yeah.
ways.
So yeah, I think a good movie. It is worth a watch.
Yeah.
And partly for the movie itself, and also to evaluate Frank Darabont's work, because like I said, he went and jumped on from this onto bigger and better productions,
See?
and he did very good. He did very, very well.
Yeah.
So yeah, he did good. I like you, Frank, if you're still alive. If you're listening.
He's probably
Well,
around.
I don't know how old he is. I mean, yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, people drop off the perch. So,
Well,
I mean,
yeah. So anyway.
Anyway.
Thanks for listening to this latest podcast, guys.
Be good.
Be good, and hopefully you'll hear from us again
and
eventually.
keep your ears clean of earwax so you can hear our podcast clearly.
And again, if I didn't say so at the beginning, if there's any trolls amongst you, go away.
Okay, you say it quite a lot.
I know. I say it a lot. It's just that there are too many people out there who like the bad movies.
You know the biggest trolls are?
Who?
The stupid film critics.
Oh, yeah.
I don't like it, so it's a crap movie. No, you don't like a sci-fi, you don't like a horror, you don't like this, so don't bag the movie.
There's always something good about a movie, guys.
Right, yeah.
Even if it's just something small.
You take Audrey Hepburn, just in passing, but a lot of people thought she was a terrible actress. No. When she was taken there, she got the role because she's a cute, pretty little thing. It looked good for the camera, okay?
Yes.
And they said she's crap as an actress. I enjoy watching Audrey Hepburn movies. But a critic would go around and say, it wasn't a bad movie, but Audrey Hepburn was crappy. You should have put somebody else in there. I like Audrey Hepburn. I think she's really fine. She's pretty, she's funny, and she's like the girl next door who's downright good looking. You know,
Yeah,
really pretty.
meaning we're straying ahead again.
No, I'm just raising a point about the trolls and the critics. You you can't have it your own way all the time, critics. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's not how life is like, guys.
Yeah. And the camera loved her. Not the critics, the camera. She was pretty. She was funny. She worked well. She worked well on film.
She worked well with others.
And she worked well with others. And actually on that movie, Breakfast at Tiffany's, the guy who wrote the story or whatever, she befriended him because she was talking about the script and what.
Actually, he hated her.
No, I heard a rumor that she understood the part she was playing better than the director did. He might not have liked her, but he appreciated the fact that she took the time.
Because he wanted Marilyn Monroe to play the role.
Yeah, he hated her probably as a choice, but he appreciated her because he took the time to figure out the role and where the girl was coming from.
Exactly.
Because they came from a similar role. Poor girl trying to make good.
Yes.
Yeah.
So anyway, moving that along.
We can go now.
We're gonna say goodbye.
Bye.
And blessed dreams.
See
See you around, guys.
Bye.